Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I really appreciate that. I'd also love it if you'd leave a comment. It's always nice to get constructive criticism, or if you have a question about the video, or if you want to suggest a video, or if you just want to tell me about how you do things. That's always fun to find out from you as well. So leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So if you've been around my channel for a while, you've seen me make a few Brutalist pieces, and I'm kind of in the mood to make a Brutalist piece today. I've seen similar ones to this before because I look at Brutalist stuff all the time because I like it. It's going to be pretty textury, and I had to cast a little ingot to make it because I didn't have anything thicker than 18 gauge sheet. So I did film part of the process of forging it and rolling it out. So I filmed that as I was going along before I actually filmed this intro because I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to complete this piece. I have not made something quite like this, and so it's a little bit of an experiment for me. Before we get started, I want to make sure to thank some groups of people. First off, my patrons over on Patron are my core group of supporters. They have created this marvelous environment over there, and I have a new one. Jill P. signed up, so thank you for that, Jill. I appreciate your support, and I think that you'll find a great group of people over there that with a great deal of talent and who are also super friendly. So thanks for all of your patronage, you all. The other group is my YouTube subscribers, and I believe we're just about passing 20,300 subscribers, which is awesome. Thank you so much for that. The sale is still ongoing through about next Thursday regarding reaching the 20,000 subscriber goal, so make sure to visit the merch store. I'll put the code in here again just in case you want to get yourself something. It's 10% off everything in the store, including the ebooks. So. But I wanted to thank my subscribers for getting us there, and that's one of the ways I wanted to thank you. The other way is just to let you know that I really, really appreciate all of the kind comments and the financial contributions like the Buy Me a Coffees and the Super Thanks. Those really help with the cost of materials right now. So I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, well, let's get started on this piece. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks you can get on my merch store. Recently I started putting different charts on the back. This one has an American wire gauge to inches to millimeter chart, which I think people overseas find kind of handy. And I use millimeters anymore, so it's nice to know the conversion. Some of the other ones have some other conversion tables and things like that. There's a new one that has a chart on the back that kind of suggests which saw blade to use with what thickness of metal and stuff like that. Okay, what I like about them too is they have this grid pattern in the background, because I'm not that great at drawing symmetrical drawings. Okay, so like I said, I like Brutalist stuff, and so this is going to be kind of rough looking. At least that's how I'm envisioning it at this point. We'll see. I have this 7x9mm Garnet that was given to me by one of my patrons, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. It's beautiful, and I'm going to bezel set it right here and put it in that at the top of this ring. Now this ring is going to be kind of a wraparound one, and I'm going to texture it really coarsely with a texturing hammer. But I wanted to kind of, I drew this upside down for some reason. I didn't realize which way my book was oriented. And I didn't draw this very well because I'm not very good at 3D sketches. But the bigger part's going to go underneath it. This top part's going to kind of stick up over the top, elevated above that. So it's not going to be, it's going to be one of those kind of special occasion rings that's not super practical to wear every day because it's going to stand out and this is going to sit up a little bit high. But I think it's going to be a stunner when it's done, so we'll see how it goes. For this material, like I said, I'm going to, for this material here, I cast a little slab, and the piece that I rolled out and everything, which I'll show you as part of the process in a minute here, ended up being about, I don't know, about that long, and it's thicker over here and tapers down. And I'll tell you how much it, well, here it is right here. It tapers down to about, I'm just going to estimate, oops, maybe 1 and 1.5 millimeters, almost 2 millimeters. So I may file that a little bit thinner because I'm going to extend it the rest of the way here, I'm going to add some 18 gauge sheet. I just didn't have any thicker stuff than 18, and I wanted it to be thicker on this end down here, so I decided to kind of roll some out myself. But we'll attach that to the side of the bezel. I think before we do that, we're going to texture it so we get some therapeutic texturing to go on. And then I think I'll shape it first, and then we'll attach the bezel. But before we do this stuff, let's make the bezel for this. I'm going to use 3/16 inch fine silver bezel strip. That's 4.76 millimeters in the metric system. It's 26 gauge, which is 0.41 millimeters if I recall. And so we're going to start with that, and I'm going to use some 18 gauge round to make a little step in here to raise the stone up so the pavilion doesn't poke through. Although it doesn't really matter that much because this is going to be sitting up above this band, so there's going to be a little space. But I think it'll be about the right height anyway if we put maybe 2 layers on there, so we'll see. So let's file this flat. I was trying to decide whether I wanted to, texture the outside of this bezel to make it look kind of coarse too. From what I understand, the Brutalist architectural movement came out of post-World War II rebuilding, kind of. And so there was a lot of very utilitarian looking, or a lot of concrete, but also some whimsy kind of thrown in every once in a while. So it's an interesting kind of period. And making kind of blocky looking, jagged looking jewelry sometimes makes for kind of a cool piece. So that's what we're going to try and do today. Okay, so let's make a little scratch here. We'll cut this off. If you haven't been to my channel before, I use primarily hard silver sheet solder. I use a liquid flux that I drip on with a dropper bottle. I used to spray it on with a spray bottle, but I kind of like the dropper bottle better. I know a lot of people paint it on, but whatever way works best for you is good, as long as it works. I usually make these into angular shapes so that you can lay a nice piece of solder across the top pretty easily and evenly. Usually get a better solder joint when I do that. Oh, my torch is a Silversmith model. It's their acetylene air torch. It just pulls in atmospheric air to mix with the gas through there. There's only one tank, and it's acetylene. I use a #1 tip for most things. I put a #2 on it when I cast that little slab earlier. Oh, I guess if we're going to solder, we need to cut some solder, huh? So let's do that. That was very cathartic to whack on that slab of silver that I cast earlier. It was always a good way to get out some aggression. So the hodgepodge way I'm doing this, I could have taken the time to cast a proper ingot, but for the sake of time tonight, I might have saved me time if I had done that. I used this little crucible and just cast a little kind of disc in there, and then I pounded it out and rolled it through the rolling mill, so which you'll see after this. But if I cast a proper sized ingot, one that was longer, I wouldn't have had quite as much work to do, or have to improvise with the 18 gauge sheet. Just doing a little reshaping here. Then we'll check and see how we did on size. My bezel was looking a little wonky. Nobody wants a wonky bezel. I think we're pretty good on size there. Yep, I think we're pretty good. So I'm going to take, well, after I filed these bottom and top a little bit flatter, then I'm going to cut some 18 gauge round wire and use that to create a step bezel. I know not everybody does it this way. I just find it to be a convenient way to do it. So let's find some 18 gauge round wire. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon, there's multiple tiers of membership. First tier at $5 a month basically gets you all of my videos with no advertising you have to worry about. So, as well as access to my Discord server where you can chat with other people who are my members. And then the tiers above that have different privileges, including exclusive videos just made for Patreon, of which I do one almost every week. Some live chats and things like that. So generally I like to cut them a little bit longer than they need to be and then snip little pieces out until they fit in there tightly. See, that's nice and snug right there. So we can put this one on top. When we go to solder them in, even if the top one gaps, nobody will be able to see it. Supposing I can get it in there. Oh, one thing you want to make sure though when you're doing these, if you're doing them this way, make sure that your rings are flat. You don't want to have a wavy platform for your stone to sit on, and that will cause you some problems. So, okay, so in order to solder this together, I'm going to take a few of these big pieces of solder. Well, I can get by with two. We'll flux this up and set those right on top of there and heat the thing until it sucks the solder right up in there. It's Pretty nifty how that works. Nifty. How old am I to say a word like nifty? Should say, dude, that's sick. Except I think most of my demographic are my age. So they probably don't say, dude, that's sick. But I hate to generalize. That was one of the things I really liked when I was teaching high schoolers. Was slang is fun, and each generation comes up with its own fun slang. And some of the more recent ones were pretty funny. That's peachy, I think. So quite a bit of bezel to work with here, so we'll file that down a lot more before we set the stone. But let's see if we can work on this piece here now. Oh, actually, here, watch me forge this. Okay, now I'm going to go anneal that, and then we'll do a little more. Or I annealed it and then pickled it a little bit. So let's see if we can kind of stretch this out a little. Okay, I've run it through the rolling mill once or twice just to flatten it out a bit, and we're going to keep doing that. And I just annealed it, and I pickled it for a while, but to speed things up, I kind of used a Dremel on the surface to get rid of some of the oxides. So let's just kind of keep rolling it through here. I think I'm going to roll it through once or twice more, and then I'm going to anneal it. And then I think I'm going to cut this thing so the rough edges are gone, and then we'll see where to go from there. Okay, so I've done a couple of things off camera. I rolled it out a few more times, annealed it a few more times, and then I flattened it out on one side a little bit more with the hammer. So it tapers down, continues to taper down from here and gradually get thinner. I don't have a long enough piece to do the whole ring, so I've thinned it out enough to where I can replace the end part here with 18 gauge sheet, I think, and make that work. But right now, I need to cut off the rough edges here in the shape, and I scribed out the shape of the ring, so that will be our next step. And this other end, I may just file that flat just to save myself some time. So let's get back to the other spot. Okay, I got this kind of cleaned up a little bit. And I did file it down a little bit more like this. And I cut myself a little piece of 18 gauge. It should be long enough. I actually was able to get a little bit longer piece out of this than I had anticipated. I guess I was just kind of guessing there. But we'll solder that on there, and then we'll taper it down. And then we should be able to texture it. So let's do that next. One of the things about soldering is you want, with silver anyway, you want both pieces to reach the soldering temperature at about the same time. And this piece over here has a ton more mass than this piece over there. And so it's going to take more energy to get that up to that temperature. We'll spend a little more time heating this big chunk before we start including that smaller piece. And what I'm doing here is called pick soldering. So I'll put a link above here if you're interested in learning about that. It's a really useful skill. I think when I first learned how to do that, it drastically improved my abilities. So it's worth learning about. Let's see how things look. I think we can just kind of like follow that line somewhere over here. That'll get us pretty close to what we want. I'm going to get this a little bit cleaned up and pickled for a bit to get rid of the oxides and things. And then I think we can start texturing it. And then after that, we're going to have to anneal it again because we're going to beat the heck out of it. So it's going to need softening before we shape it into a band. But okay, it's hammer time, I suppose. This is the texturing hammer that I'm going to use. It's got kind of a corrugated end on it. We'll see how this works. I kind of like that texture. It's nice. I think I measured this out to be like a 8.5 or a 9 maybe. So I think let's anneal this part, and then I'm going to solder on the bezel, I think. Or, no. I'm going to anneal it first, pickle it, and then we'll shape it, and then we'll solder the bezel on. I'm thinking as I shape this, I may have to add texture back in as I go. As we stretch the ring around things, it may change how it looks. So if that's the case, we'll have to add some texture back in. So actually, I'm going to start the curve on this thing right here. Sometimes when I have thick stuff, I like to use these nylon jawed pliers and some leverage. Sometimes you can get it to bend a little easier. This may be too thick for that, but we'll see. I think we need to anneal again. So let's anneal it a little bit. You can also put leverage on things like this. Put your weight into it. This would be where having a ring bender would be handy. We're getting closer. So let's make a scratch right there. So there's the little curve that I need. So I'm going to cut that off with these. And then I'm going to use a rotary tool to kind of round it out. All right, back. All right, now the question is, how do we solder this on here nicely? Without anything weirding out on us. I think maybe if I can get it suspended above it like this, I could do it that way, but it's going to be hard to see what I'm doing. So, what if I did something else? Kind of making this one up as I go here. So since I used hard solder on this joint here where I joined that, I guess I probably should use some medium paste or something, because I normally just do hard, but for this I don't want that dropping off. Let's cool that off in a minute. So we'll let that clean up for a while. I may texture the edges here too. But for now, let's let it pickle for a bit. Got everything polished up and shaped, and I've got the top of the bezel filed down to the level I think it should be. And so we're just going to set that stone. I do this a little different than some. I use my chain nose pliers, this flat part here, to be a bezel pusher, and the rounded outer part as a burnishing tool. So we're just going to kind of get this seated. Do a little bit of burnishing. Even though I couldn't really draw very well, that idea was what I was thinking. So, but yeah, tell me what you would have done differently, given that I didn't have this thick a sheet that I would need to do what I was trying to do tonight. So I'm curious how you would have dealt with the same situation. Would you have cast something? Would you have soldered things together? I've done both. I like the outcome on this one, and I think it was successful, but I would probably take the time next time to cast a real ingot and roll it out carefully over some time. But it worked out okay. I think it's kind of a cool ring. Someone will love it. Alright, I'll get some better pictures and put them at the end. Well, that was the scorpion leg Brutalist piece. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go. And I'd love it if you'd take a moment and check out my main channel page. I have 460 plus videos that I've made over the past 3 years and a little bit. I do 3 per week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Saturday. And so there's a lot of content there to peruse, and I think there's almost certainly something else you'll find that's interesting as well. So check a few of those out, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to visit the video description down below the video here. There's links to, there's some important links. There's links to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea notebooks, or a version of one of my 2 ebooks, which are tutorial guides to all of the tutorials I did in 2023. And there's also one for 2024. So those are great resources. They have additional information about each of the projects, as well as a link right to the video. So it's a great way to support my channel as well if you're interested. And there's a link to my Patreon if you want to check out that community. It's a nice place with a whole bunch of talented people. So, all right, well, thanks for watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.